Imaginative, inventive, and as a creative artist-designer he delivered further features of his creations for a much wider exploration. He afforded his costumes and designs to associate with the opera ballets and to other several prestigious performances until he also created clothes and costumes and provided them for the opera in San Francisco. One of the world's most renowned and celebrated artist fashion designer in history, his magnanimous contribution in fashion industry had been recognized and cherished by several giant institutions. And to credit the titanic value of his influence to this industry, even the Costume Institute of the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York City had honored him through an ex post facto ready-to-wear series of exhibits by unveiling his elegant creations from December 1997 to March 1998 as posthumous tribute for his legacy. That ex post facto commemorative gesture started 4 months after he was murdered or assassinated. Do you still remember this most famous Italian fashion designer who was also recognized, acknowledged and identified as the universal icon for his daring and valiant fashions and glamorous lifestyle? Based on Miami, Florida police report, on the 15th day of July in 1997, Versace, after his morning walk upon returning to his Miami Beach mansion known as Casa Casuarina, was shot and killed on his front steps in front of his mansion's gate by a mestizo-Filipino serial killer identified as Andrew Cunanan. Andrew Cunanan had been tagged as a serial killer because prior to that incident he had also murdered 4 other public figures including Lee Miglin, who was a well-known real estate developer. At the time of his death, the world's famous fashion designer was 50 years old, and his untimely death was featured by the American crime story, The Assassination of Gianni Versace. Born on December 2, 1946 as Giovanni Maria Versace in the city of Reggio Calabria in Italy and lately known as Gianni Versace, in his teenage years he already shown great interest in fashion, as discernible obviously as a bloodline of interest because he grew up watching his dressmaker mother at the latter's dress shop and boutique. With experiences at the mother's dress shop after he graduated high school, Gianni afterwards went to Milan in 1972 to gain best techniques in fashion design and to enlarge his experiences as he worked as an assistant and fashion stylist to the famous Callahan, the far-famed Genny, and the fabled and legendary fashion designers Complis and Mario Valentino. By reminiscence, he was only 9 years old when he created his very first authentic and original design, in 1978, with full skill and expertise. After working with those aforesaid greatest Italian ateliers, Gianni Versace organized and exhibited his first eponymic collections of fashion dresses, and having staged it in Milan, Italy. Staging that first ready-to-wear show bearing the name Gianni Versace Ateliers, his launched own company, surprisingly it was very successful and had collected great support from the audience, especially that the said fashion show was also backed up by the then fashion family, whose love for this art could not be dumped into a light-hearted passion. No other than the Girambellis family of Italy. At first Gianni was known for his famous designs that include silver mesh togas, polyvinyl chloride baby doll dresses and sophisticated bondage gear, until at the height of his fashion design career he also started to establish boutiques throughout the United States, launching his own Atelier Versace, bolstering and buttressing his own fashion rules, techniques and originality as he was inspired by the up-to-date culture, art, music, architecture and Hollywood's inspiration. Aside from organizing seasonal events by staging fashion shows like rock concerts with the performances of his celebrity friends, namely Madonna, Cindy Crawford, Elton John, and his devoted and dedicated supermodels like Naomi Campbell, Christy Turlington and Linda Evangelista. Aside from fashion business, he also engrossed a publishing business like Coffee Table Books, in which habitually the featured products were his own and original dress sketches and creative photographs of his creations and handiworks. In 1989, Gianni Versace started to design a latest stance and approach of haute couture for the first time, and his name, the famous name Versace, was credited by the whole universe as he twisting, threading and winding the fashion world into the high-wrought and celebrity head-over-heels in love industry, and the name Versace still remain renowned, illustrious and legendary up to this present day of the world of fashion, art and beauty pageants. To recall, Gianni Versace had also designed costumes for theater, films and Miss Universe events. He was the first designer for Princess Diana and also one of the first designers who conjoined and linked up his fashion into the music world, creating a name by designing clothes for Whitney Houston, Kate Moss, Eric Clapton, Joan Collins, Tupac Shakur and many other celebrities. The most famous Italian fashion designer who was also recognized, acknowledged, and identified as the universal icon for his daring and valiant fashions and glamorous lifestyle. Based on Miami, Florida police report, on the 15th day of July in 1997, Versace, after his morning walk upon returning to his Miami Beach mansion known as Casa Casuarina, was shot and killed on his front steps in front of his mansion's gate by a mestizo-Filipino serial killer identified as Andrew Cunanan. At the time of his death, the world's famous fashion designer was 50 years old, and his untimely death was featured by the American crime story, The Assassination of Gianni Versace.